going to have a conversation, and the hard conversation of the reality that all of us, if you are the founder of a company or the leader of a company, even a department head, you are probably the bottleneck that is holding your team or your company or your organization back. And so today we're going to talk about that. If you're new here, I'm doing a series over the course of 30 days. I'm going to release a video, 30 videos here on how to double your business in 30 days. If you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Peter. I'm a media buyer turned CMO consultant. I managed over $500 million in ad spend in my career and worked with some of the top brands in the United States. I'm based here in Rio de Janeiro, so if you see me with more of a sunburn today, do not say anything. Summer is coming down here, so don't say anything if you see me with a sunburn. Today we're going to talk about you and the role that each of us need to think about. If you're leading an organization, you need to think about the role that you're playing in that organization. We'll talk about closing a mindset gap, designing your life so that you actually like it. Like if you're the founder of a company, if you're leading a company or a team, you have to like coming to your job. That's an important thing. If you hate your job, everyone's going to hate their job. And you got to do it in a way that you're not burnt out and your team is not burning out. Do it in a way that fuels your mission, fuels your purpose in life rather than drains from it. So the mindset for founders is that it's like a ladder. You have to be continually climbing that ladder and growing your mindset and your leadership capability, because that's always going to be the ceiling for your organization. Your organization is never going to grow higher than your leadership capacity. If you find yourself constantly hitting a ceiling in terms of revenue, this is the first place that I would look at yourself and look at the role that you're playing in things. Whether you're scaling from 10K a month to 1 million or scaling to 100 million, how you think is going to be the multiplier that allows your organization to grow to the next level. This is also true for departments. If you're already a large organization and you have departments, your department leaders are also going to play a role in that. Your teams are not going to outgrow their leader. And I think all of this ties into what I talked about many videos ago around your purpose and your vision. If you don't have that long-term purpose, if you're not clear on your purpose in this life, why are you on this planet? What impact, what role are you going to play in this world around us? Then you're not going to be able to build plans and systems to keep the company working, right? If you are a founder of a company, your purpose in this life is probably very interconnected with the purpose of your company. And if you don't know that for yourself, then the company is not going to know it. It's going to be a ship without a rudder if you don't have that defined. If you don't know, go back to the video I posted about your purpose and the vision and the mission of your company and think a lot about it. Go to YouTube, watch some videos around deciding your purpose in life, your purpose in life, because I think you have to lock in on that before anything else. Build your life. Don't be an active participant. Don't be reactive. Don't let life happen to you. You have to build a life that you want. You do not quit your job and start a company to hate your boss. If you find yourself in that role, which I certainly did, you have to think about why that is. If you work in a company you hate, if you work in a job you hate, you're the reason for it. If you're the founder, if you're the CEO, you're the reason for it. Build a system, build a better system, build a company that works better for you and works better for the people working with you. Build your calendar around the most important stuff and protect time for deep work. I do it where I put all of my calls on Wednesday, so the rest of the week I can get shit done. Right? I used to have calls all the week. I was on the phone and I was super reactive. Oh, I'm talking to so-and-so today. I'm going to get a lot of shit done for so-and-so today. When I do it this way, I talk to everybody on Wednesday, and Wednesday kind of sucks. It's always a long haul on Wednesday. But the rest of the week, I can be strategic and get the important stuff done. I can think on Monday morning, what's the most important things I can do today? What are the most important things I can get done today versus being reactive? I know I have to do X, Y, Z before this call. And you have to be present, right? Your energy is super important. I'll talk a lot about marathons today because I think that this is like a marathon. When I trained for a marathon and when I ran a marathon, my thought wasn't like, okay, how can I run faster right now? How can I keep running? My thought was, how can I put myself in a physical and mental state after mile 1 that I can still run another 25? And then after mile 2, how can I put myself in that same mental and physical state where I can finish the race? No one gives a shit how fast you run the first mile. It only matters if you finish the race. And you have to be putting yourself in a mental state and a physical state where you can finish the race. No one cares about the explosive stuff you can do in one day. Nothing you're trying to do can be done in one day. So those 1 days, they're valuable and ride the flow when you have it, but it is not how you scale your company. You have to be running the marathon. You have to think like you're running the marathon. The real bottleneck often is the founder, especially if you're at smaller scale. If your company cannot break $1 million in a month, if your company can't break even 50,000 in a month, you're probably the reason. And if you've grown and scaled, but you keep hitting a ceiling, you're probably also the bottleneck there. Most plateaus are not because of strategy, they're because of the leadership capacity at the top. I see this an awful lot with reactive leaders, kind of just getting blown around with whichever way the wind is blowing today. They don't have a plan. They don't stick to the plan. They're not clear on what their mission or purpose is. If you're buried in the day-to-day, if everything comes back to you, if everyone's waiting on you, your company is not going to scale. Audit what you have to do and then delegate the rest of it. If it's something truly you have to do it and do it well. Everything else, build systems or find people to do it. We talked about it before. Your job is to remind yourself from day to day, remove yourself from day to day. You should be building a system. We talked about these sprints of addressing bottlenecks. Identify the bottleneck, build a system to solve that bottleneck that doesn't include you so that then you can go and focus on the next thing. I think you really have to understand what your job is, and your job can change. Your job description can change, especially if you're growing quickly. It probably will change, even quarterly. I've talked about it before where each team should have one overarching bottleneck that they are solving. If I'm the founder in it, I would try to get things to a place where your bottleneck is you. Think about your personal bottlenecks and focus on solving one of those each time you go into a sprint, and have a team and a system. And obviously, as a leader, you'll be plugged in with those systems, right, for addressing other bottlenecks in your organization. But I would have your primary one be about how you are responsible in the role that you're playing for how things are going in that moment. You got to move from hustle to clarity or from chaos to clarity. Hustle is for getting stuff started. Clarity is for scaling it and building systems to get things moving. Focus on the levers that you can pull to drive the maximum amount of results. Think about, like, if I did one thing today that made the most amount of impact, what is that going to be? If you think about the number of hours that are spent in our life that make the most difference in our careers and our companies, it is a very small amount of hours. The big changes, the big improvements come from this deep work that most of the time we put on the back burner for the chaos or the hustle. We hustle, and we ignore the big important things. You have to build your calendar in a way where you have time to focus on those big important things. And you have to have the focus and the vision to say, this is where we're going. This is the most important thing I can do today to help us get there. Your energy, your time, your attention is a valuable resource. Protect it as if it's money. If you're spending your time and your attention on non-valuable things, your time is going to be devalued. If you spend your time on those most important things that move the needle, that get things going in the direction that you want, the decisions that build the company that you want, then your time is going to be really, really valuable. Don't just work more. Busy work is not going to help you at all. You don't have a boss you need to please. Busy work's not going to get you anywhere. Do the shit that matters. Do more of the shit that matters. You have to think about, what should you do? And for each of us, there is this zone of genius and the zone of grind. The genius tasks are the things that you're going to be the best in the world at. It's like your USP. What are you uniquely positioned to do? The grind is stuff that drains you, even if you're really good at it. If you find yourself at the end of a task feeling more energized or less energized, that's a signal for which element you should be into. When I thought about this for myself, I literally color coded my calendar. After I did something, I would change the color of that calendar event to reflect my energy coming out of it. What I noticed is that there were certain times on my calendar where I had the most green and certain reds on my calendar where I had a lot more red and certain with a lot more yellow in between. And then what I did is I structured my day to get those most important things done in the time frames where I was usually in the green. For me, normally the early morning is where I get most of my best stuff done, right? 7 to 9. And it doesn't shift if I wake up earlier. If I wake up at 9 today, I'm missing that window where I have the most energy and I get the most good, important stuff done. And so I structured my calendar so that in those hours, I can just sit here uninterrupted. It was really nice when I lived in Europe because most of the Americans were sleeping and no one was bothering me during that time. But even here, even in your own city, most people, unless you're in California, are not awake at 6, 7 in the morning, even if you're working with people on the East Coast. And so I try to get my most important stuff done when I have the most energy. Pay attention to your energy for yourself. It's like an investment. Like, where are you investing your money? Where are you getting return from it? If you're spending your energy and you're getting burnt out and drained from it, that's a poor ROI investment of your energy. But if you go spend it somewhere where you leave it energized and you leave it like wanting to get a lot more stuff done, then that's a positive use of that energy. And like, it's just like a trading account or something, right? Spend your time in the way that you're going to get the most ROI. And like I said, it's a marathon. So if you're spending too much time grinding, you're going to get burnt out and you're not going to be able to finish the race. One of the books I put on the references many days ago was Ray Dalio's Principles. And in that book, he makes the assertion that the quality of your life is going to be based off the quality of your decisions. So making better decisions and learning how to make better decisions is super important. One of the things that I do as a media buyer is I keep a decision-making log. I made this decision on this day. I made it for these reasons. This was the data that I was looking at when I made this decision. This is what I expected to happen as a result. And then was it successful and what actually occurred from it? If you're working in a field like media buying, things change. Things that I would argue anywhere, anything, the world changes, right? You could be building the third version of the exact same company. Let's say it's a marketing agency. You built an agency, you scaled it, you sold it. You built an agency, you scaled it, you sold it. The way that you do that today is very different than the way you did it 5 years ago and 10 years ago. And so if you're not learning whether your decisions are still driving what you expect your decisions to do, then you're going to make poor quality decisions and go in the wrong direction. It's a skill that needs to be learned, right? Making good decisions is a skill just like any other skills that we've had. And you can't just trust like, oh, I made the decision one time or 100 times in the past. It's still going to work now. Cut the multitasking. Focus on the stuff you're going to do, the stuff you need to do, and then do it 100%. Don't be distracted. If you're distracted, you're going to make a poor quality decision. Calm, decisive leaders build calm, decisive teams. And the inverse of that is also true. If you're stressed out, your team is going to be stressed out. If you are not working strategically, your team is not going to be working strategically. And again, it's not frantic, it's focused. And you're communicating that focus with your whole team, getting everyone aligned on. You have to understand that founder stress is going to increase with scale, more money, more people, more pressure. I felt this a lot when I first started my company, where it's like, okay, now we go from worrying about like, okay, I need to pay my rent this month, I need to feed myself this month, all my bills, but now I have all these people who also need all these things, right? And so I felt a lot of pressure from that. You also have to understand that these problems, the new problems, are not going to be solved with the same solutions that solved your previous ones. If you scale to a new level, those $10 million problems or those $100 million problems are not going to be solved with the same habits that solved earlier versions. Avoid making yourself a martyr. What I did is I just found a group of people who were in the exact same as me and who would get coffee on Sunday morning, bitch, and then go back and like have blown off all our steam and ready to jump into things. I think it's important that there's someone that you talk to. It's easy, like if you're an agency founder, find other agency founders. If you work in an HVAC company, if you have an HVAC company, maybe find another HVAC founder. Maybe not your direct competitor. Maybe like you're installing pools and someone else is installing HVAC and somebody else is roofing, right? You certainly have some things that you can find some common ground on. And your well-being, how much sleep you got last night, how good you're feeling. Did you go to the gym this morning? Those are a strategic priority. I mentioned the marathon, right? You have to be in a physical and mental state to finish the race. And so investing in that physical and mental state is super important for getting yourself to the results you want to see. You need to have boundaries. You need to say no to everything that's not the stuff that gets you where you want to go, right? Say no to absolutely everything else that doesn't get you where you want to go. I think about this in my personal life where I have XYZ goals. And then how can I pivot these things that I want to say yes to, but they're not aligned with that? Let's say I want to like spend some time with my friends, but they don't want to go to a bar. Maybe I can like convince them to let's go play volleyball instead, where it's like still active and it's at least somewhat moving me towards some of my goals. And it's not a complete waste, right? Like a little bit of improvement is better than working on these things that distract you from where you want to go. Even with yourself, clarity beats chaos, especially in early stages. When everything is messy and nothing is clear, you have to be the clarity. You have to rally the troops and get everyone focused. And what you are doing, your team is going to emulate. If you show up late, if you're always stressed out, if you're super reactive, then your team is going to operate like that as well. Decide when you want to go all in and then delegate everything else. We talked about this when we talked about sprints and solving bottlenecks. Delegate your decisions, build the systems to remove yourself from the process. Fear of letting go often is tied with your ego or fear of losing control. And the fear of losing control could be your ego. If I was in that role where I was afraid of letting go, I would consider my ego playing a role in that. And I also would consider whether I have the appropriate systems to get stuff done or the proper plan to get stuff done. If the plan revolves on you doing it, it's not a good plan. And you probably need to rethink that plan. Don't hoard decisions. Try to get rid of as many decisions as you can. Teach your team how to make those decisions. Again, making decisions is a skill that can be improved over time. So when you're talking with people, I always ask why way too much. Somebody tells me, I want to do this. Why? I think it will do this. Okay, why? Why do you think that? What are you looking at that inspires that? It's the same thing as the decision-making log. I would go through that with people on my team and then discuss their decision-making logic, right? We talked about thinking in bets and thinking things as a gamble. Sometimes these decisions that people make, really every time we make a decision, it's a bit of a gamble, right? So let people gamble on their own decisions sometimes, as long as you're doing it properly. I want to do this because of this data. This input makes me believe that we should do XYZ. My assumption is that this is going to occur. Maybe talk about why that's an assumption. If you're the leader, maybe challenge both of those. Does this data actually say what you're thinking? Does that assumption make sense? Is there a logical fallacy in it? And then what do you expect to happen? And then revisit it. Okay, you made this decision. Did it occur? Did it turn out exactly how you thought it would? Yes or no? What can you learn the next time you make that decision based off of what we just saw? And bet big on the things that align with your mission and your genius and the purpose of the company. Go all in on the stuff that you need to be doing and ignore the other things. Ego is a huge part of this, more often than anything else. Ego thrives on control, certainty, and praise. All of these things stand in the way of scaling your company. If you need to be the smartest person in the room, your team's not going to grow. Try to be the dumbest person in the room. Try to hire so well that you feel stupid in comparison with the people sitting at the table, right? That's the best way to not make decisions and to delegate decisions, is when you're hiring people who actually know it quite a bit better than you, and they're more equipped or have more experiences to grow from. You can still be a leader and drive those conversations. Why are you making a decision? What data are you looking at? What do you expect? But you can delegate a lot when you hire these people who are experts in certain fields. Don't get defensive. This will kill your feedback. And don't try to be perfectionist. And then also I would think about why. Why? I always will ask this question. If you're feeling defensive, why do you feel like that? Is there some pinch to your ego? Do you have some fear? Could you communicate the fear rather than getting defensive? If you are a perfectionist, also think about why. Is there some insecurity, feeling like it's tied to your worth? I would think about the whys behind any of those things. If you're behaving in a way that's not congruent with the leader that you need to be for your organization, if you want to scale to a certain level, what type of leader does that? What do those people do? How do they spend their time? How do they build their days? What do they spend their time on? What calls do they take? What calls do they not take? What conversations are they having with their team? What people are they hiring? What people are they firing? Think about that person. Like, write it down on paper. This is a leader who would lead this type of organization that I want to have, and then be that person. I think that's the secret to everything in life. It's like, if you want to do something, think about the person who would be doing it. If you want to have six packs, what would the person who has six pack be doing? Do those things. Don't do the things that person wouldn't do. If you're in a startup, your identity is probably closely tied to the business. So every threat is going to feel personal, and there's some emotional reaction that comes with that. Learn to master your emotions, build your emotional intelligence, read a lot of books on the topic, watch some YouTube videos on the topic, so that you can understand, hey, my emotions are a signal here, not necessarily a verdict. Just because I'm afraid or I feel defensive or I don't feel good about this doesn't mean that it's bad, and it's a signal. Maybe it's outside of your comfort zone. Perhaps you have to get outside of your comfort zone to grow things and take things to the level you want to go. It's called the comfort zone for a reason, right? Everything outside of the comfort zone is not going to be comfortable. And that's exactly where you have to be if you want to scale things. So your ego is going to take pinches. If you're growing, if you're moving things where it needs to go, your ego is going to take some pinches. There's going to be some things that feel uncomfortable, and you have to trust your plan. You have to trust that your plan's aligned with your vision, your purpose, and then take it. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be days, even if you have the best plan in the entire world and the best team in the entire world, there are going to be bad days in it, and you have to trust that your plan is going to weather those storms. I think I struggle with it sometimes where, okay, I don't feel good. I'm going to be like less productive. Being less productive didn't make anyone feel better, right? And if anything, it's distracting you. It's taking you from where you want to go. Perhaps you'd feel better if you got to the destination. But it's like running the marathon and deciding to walk or stop halfway. It's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to make you feel better in the moment. If you have a cramp in your leg, you're still going to have a cramp in your leg when you stop. And then you're going to feel terrible the next day when you didn't finish the race, right? So you have to work through that and trust that you have a plan that will get you through it. When you're leading without ego, I think you also have to assume that you don't know. You have to assume that if you did know, your team would already be doing it. And so you have to be curious about what you don't know and curious about what you're not seeing. For me, brainstorming is one of those skills that I think is super important. And I think for anyone in business, I've heard of founders who brainstorm a list of 10 things every morning. And I try to do the same thing. Sometimes I brainstorm a list of things to brainstorm a list of things about, because you can't just copycat people. You can't do exactly what other people are doing. You have to think outside of the box a little bit. And sometimes there are questions that require a lot of creativity. And if you don't have that skill built up, you're not going to be able to exercise it. Brainstorm a list of 10 things, 10 ideas, even some of them, if they're stupid, they might point you in the right direction. Delegate authority. Your worth, your image is not built upon the number of tasks that you do. It's built upon how good your team is running. So focus on building the team, working on the business rather than working in the business. Make your decisions from a point of clarity. This is confidence, right? If you are super reactive and every blowing the wind moves you in a different direction, or if you yo-yo back and forth from polar extremes, it's because you're not confident. Not confident in yourself, not confident in the plan, not confident in the system or your team. And regardless of why, ponder why, and then fix the problems. Welcome uncomfortable feedback is the same as your comfort zone, right? Like if you're leaving your comfort zone, it's not always going to be comfortable. You're not going to get everything right. Look for the mirrors that tell you what's going on. It's really, really valuable. If no one's comfortable sharing candid feedback with you, you're not going to know what's going on in your company. And even if people are comfortable, they're not going to do it as much as you would like. Not a lot of times, there have been times where something didn't work. And I asked questions post-mortem, and a lot of people knew that it wouldn't work before we started, but they weren't comfortable communicating that from the get-go, right? That candid feedback is invaluable. And if you get super offensive whenever people share with you, no one is going to tell you anything. You're not going to know what's going on. If you have this culture of candor, you will know problems before they become a problem, because people are comfortable sharing those worries or thoughts with you in advance. You don't have to act on them, but the information is vital, right? You want as much inputs coming in so you can make your decision about whether, okay, you're worried about that, yes or no. And the less credit that you take, the more credit that you give, the more the company is going to scale, the more the company is going to grow. Always look to pass the credit on to somebody else, especially if they've earned it. The final things that I would talk about is, first, focus on yourself. You're the biggest bottleneck. If you're the founder, you're the bottleneck you need to solve for. Almost every business, the leader is a bottleneck in some way. And in every business, the leader is the ceiling capping performance. Doing less but more, doing more of the important stuff beats doing everything and being scattered and chaotic and unfocused. Don't trade your life for growth. Build a life that you like living, right? Don't just chase pleasure and happiness, because that's not going to give you the life that you want. But be clear on your vision, be clear on your vision for the company, your purpose for your own life, and then build a system that delivers that for you. And then every level of your business will require you to show up in a different way. You need to be a different leader for every step in the process. And so think about it like, okay, you have a company-wide goal for this year. What leader do you need to be? What person do you need to be to get that done? What is the version of you that is at the other end having achieved that? And then build that. I put the quote on one of my earlier slides, I think my very first day. What you get by achieving your goals is not nearly as important as who you become by achieving your goals. by Henry David Thoreau. So think about it. Who do I have to be at the other end of this company that I'm looking for? Today, more than ever, I've got a lot of resources for you because it requires a lot of learning. You could literally read one book a week for the rest of your life, and it'll always be learning something that improves your leadership capacity. And anytime you improve your leadership capacity, you are raising the ceiling that's capping the performance of your company. Sometimes there's things like, okay, you've done all of this stuff. Maybe your leadership capacity has raised, but as a function of that, it's going into these other areas, removing the bottlenecks from your conveyor belt of operations and digging into these things, holding things back, right? Improving as a leader means you're digging into all these other areas. You can't be the best leader in the world with a low performing team, because to be the best leader in the world, or to be the best leader you're capable of, it requires that you dig into these areas that we've talked about in the past days and we'll continue to talk about in future videos. Okay. As always, let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or my social media is in the slide deck here that will be linked. And so, yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.